Live from the Bassroom Studio 2.0 in Seattle, Washington, this is the Podworm Spacecast. The Podworms are 7 lifelong friends who won't bring you sheet cookies or cookie sheets and certainly won't make eye contact with you after losing their frisbee in your backyard. Welcome to the Spacecast. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Podworm Spacecast. I'd love to introduce to you our great Podworms we're joined by today.
Yay.
First and foremost, we have one half of the Deadly Brother duo. Mike McCoy is here.
Hey, Deadly Brother roll call.
And his better half, Kevin McCoy is here.
And the Deadly Brother roll call.
We have our DJ, producer, all-around great guy, Chase Golka.
Hey, everybody.
And our little buddy, Jim Charters.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here, everybody.
And I'm your humble host, Andrew LeClaire. Hey, I never introduced myself.
I think that's a record for getting through the names.
Look at us. That was
Let's
quick.
go.
We got
Very
it.
fast.
No bullshit this
We got
time.
all
All right, let's do it again.
Right down to business.
One more
That was so
time.
fast. Let's do it again.
Deliver the roll call. Wait, who are you?
Well, you know what I've realized? That although sometimes, introducing the crew does generate some good content, maybe it's better just to get it out of the way.
I guess it is for the listener to actually know
Who the hell we are.
Right.
So when we talk over it, maybe sometimes it's confusing.
I mean,
Yeah,
who are
quite
we?
a bit, especially if it's your first time listening.
Yeah.
Who are we
If
really?
this is your first time listening, you know who we are.
Yeah. Now you do.
You got it.
You got it. You
It didn't take
figured it
10
out.
minutes.
Although the funny thing is, so we were at Peter's wedding this weekend. That's why he's not here. He's on his honeymoon having a great time. Actually, he's coming back tonight to go back to work.
Yeah.
But he's still technically on the honeymoon because he's not
he
back in the
technically
state.
is still on the
Yeah.
honeymoon.
The flight home is still a honeymoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we
The moon
learned
may be setting.
Yeah, it's the best part, actually.
Yeah, everyone says the best part
Everyone
of the honeymoon.
says the best part.
Yeah,
is
Chase,
on the way
you're
back.
You're absolutely right.
He's
That
on a
flight
mini
back.
moon, right?
the what now?
Mini moon?
That's correct.
I believe
Ooh,
so.
yes, a mini moon.
How many mini moons make a honeymoon?
3.
3?
Let's just make a decision right now.
That's good to know. That's good.
I appreciate that.
Three.
Wait,
Right
yeah,
now.
let's not even talk about it. It's 3.
It's 3.
Works for me.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Because I mean, let's think about this. He's gone for 5 days. That's 15 days. It's a really long honeymoon. That's exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna argue with
I
that.
would accept that. Yeah, 3.
I think this is the best kind of improv. Like, we're not really yes and. We're more like yep and.
Yep.
Like, really quick. Yep. Agree.
Uh-huh.
Go.
Yep.
Keep
3.
going.
Nope. Perfect. Yes. Keep going. What's next? What are we deciding next? What do you got next? 4.
What do you got next?
5.
I got tons of numbers up here. I'm ready.
I blame it on the whiskey coke more than anything. That's going on here. That's really the situation.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah. What else you got?
Come on, 3. Let's decide right now.
The whiskey coke tells me to say something.
We'll get back to the whole Peter's wedding thing in more detail in a second here. But
Yeah.
the thing I learned from it is that I think, well, number one,
You
Peter
learned a lesson at the wedding?
of course.
A life lesson?
We all did.
We all learned that moral.
Yeah, we did.
You can learn
The moral
lessons
that he's
anywhere.
about to talk
did.
about. We all learned.
Yes,
The one
we
that
all
he's
learned
about
it.
to talk about, we all learned.
I'm glad we get to teach our fans this moral on this podcast today.
It really changed my life.
Well, moral number one is I think Peter is the best at not producing the podcast, but at
Yep. And.
That's a good moral. It starts with Peter is
promoting.
the best.
Promoting.
Yes. That's right.
Because he shares the podcast with his coworkers, his sister
Oh,
also
yeah.
shares
His
the
extended
podcast.
family.
Like Katie's friends, who might be listening right now. Hi, Katie's friends.
Hi, Katie's
Hey,
friends.
Katie's
and
friends.
Katie.
Hi, Katie.
And
Freeze.
Katie. Listen to the podcast. But I realize that they don't know us from high school, and we treat everybody who listens to the show like they know us from
Yeah.
high school.
This is true.
It is
Well, I mean-
after they've listened to 43 episodes, they probably know us from high school.
Why'd
at
you
this
check
point.
your watch, Mike?
Well, just because I have it written here on
Wait,
my
first
watch.
of all,
I do that.
first of all,
that too. Actually.
you're not wearing a watch.
No, I am.
Second of all, a watch wouldn't tell you how many podcast episodes we've recorded.
Not the kind of invisible watch that I have.
Yeah, I have one of those
Okay.
invisible watches
Touche.
too.
I'm just kidding. I just have the number 43 written on my wrist.
Podworms is coming out with an Apple Watch app that tells you how many episodes we have.
That's under
and
NDA.
that's it.
It's under.
Yeah, the episode
How many
that you're
episodes have there been now?
It just projects the number onto your wrist. Oh,
Cool. 43.
Yeah.
43.
So-
Next
so
week it'll
what
be
was the-
44.
What is the
Very well
What
then.
is the second part of the moral?
Number one,
No, I think it's a second moral.
Oh, there's two morals.
There's not two parts, right?
Moral number 1. Peter is the best at promoting the pod.
That is a moral that I live by.
Yeah, more you
Changed
know.
my life.
and the second moral is that there's people that listen that didn't go to high school with us. That was all.
Yes.
It was.
Oh yeah,
What is other-
Great morals.
There are people who listen to the podcast who we didn't go to high school with.
You're right. It was a
Repeat after
two-parter.
me.
It wasn't two different morals. It
Let
was
me just say, I'm not the one that couched it as a moral. I just said I learned a few things from the wedding this
Did he
weekend.
not couch it?
No, I'm pretty sure you said something about
Okay,
morals.
let's roll back the tape.
Hey, I learned a few morals this weekend while I was at the wedding.
I heard it.
Okay.
I knew it.
I heard him say.
All right.
I heard him.
We're not using tape.
We're not.
What is happening
What's in
with
that
the
little-
yes
This is
answer?
a digital recording.
Use that watch to tell you what year it is.
It doesn't make rewind noises. What the hell did you
It
just
just
do?
did. You heard it.
I heard it.
did.
I heard it too.
We all heard
Surprisingly enough.
I
Heard
it
if there
as
isn't
well.
any, if there
See,
isn't any tape, what's going on in that little
What's
box?
in this whiskey coke?
It's a magic box.
It's the magic.
See, I have an output
J.J.
from
Abrams.
your digital recorder going to my cassette recorder over here in my small karaoke machine. Just so I have a specific, because we do release these on cassettes.
Right.
There's a lot more storage on magnetic tape.
Everyone knows tape is the future.
The future is tape.
It's
Magnetic tape.
technology is cyclical. It's coming back. You
Yeah,
know?
and nothing's more cyclical than tape spinning around your deck.
So I realized
Good
that we need to
content.
be more, accommodating to those people who don't know us directly. So good intros. I'm going to announce who the hell I am so people know. And that's that.
We're not going to bullshit. We're not going to
gonna
spend
bullshit
extra time
anymore.
on anything.
No,
We're not
definitely
gonna-
no extra
brass
time.
tacks.
Right.
And we're going to call morals morals.
We're just gonna have a normal podcast for once.
This
Yes.
is a normal podcast.
a moral podcast.
Welcome to the Podworm Spacecast. This is a normal podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me here, Mike.
Thanks
I'm
for
really
being
glad you brought
here.
me in.
Hey, thanks for having me here too. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm normal. Jesus.
Who let Kevin in here? Sorry, we're trying to run a normal
We're trying
ship
to have
around
a
here.
very
It's supposed to be very normal.
podcast.
Super normal.
Nothing makes me more agitated.
Anybody seen my salamander?
Won't you shut up? God damn it!
So we got a lot coming up for you. I have to air some something that came out during the wedding weekend.
Oh,
We're gonna play a little round of 10-minute movie. It's been upped from a 5-minute movie.
Okay.
Simply too much content for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Of
too
course.
much good content for 5 minutes.
And given time, we might even hit the Google, as we've been known to do.
Google.com.
What is that?
The Google.com.
The
We'll learn about it if we get
does
there.
anything,
Okay, all right,
does
all right.
anything to do with
That
tape?
sounds interesting.
Remember, he's using Netscape.
Yeah.
Right, he is.
Google. It sounds like a dance move.
Is
you know,
that
that sounds
anything
crazy.
Like, is anything like Alta Vista?
It sounds crazy,
It's
huh?
kind of like the worm.
It's kind of like the worm.
Oh, look, he's Googling.
I was Googling on over.
Google out over here.
It's something the teens are using. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right.
Well, it sounds lit.
So before I have to
Yep. And
before I dig back into this weekend, I wanted to dig back into our last episode. And I was listening back, as I do, in the wee hours of the morning when I'm all alone. I have I light a single candle on my bedside. I draw the blinds. I put my blindfold on, some complete sensory deprivation, except for just the glow of the flame, which you can feel on my cheek.
Right.
And I put on the Podworm Spacecast.
Yeah.
And I drift away. And I was listening. And I know that we gave Kevin grief about the sheet cookie and cookie sheet debacle. And we all kind of know what a cookie sheet is, but I realized I don't know what a sheet cookie is. What is a sheet cookie, Kevin?
wow.
It's a cookie that you cook in that cookie tin that just is like one big cookie that you cut into pieces.
Square.
Yeah.
It's square.
So it's like a brownie, but just made out of cookie.
Exactly. That's exactly
It could
what
be
it is.
considered a blonde brownie. Yes.
So what
blonde brownie.
can you? So okay, you can make a cookie in the shape of a
It's a
brownie.
different recipe. Just forget.
Can you make a brownie in the shape of a cookie? Would that work?
Most definitely.
You think so?
Probably.
A brownie in the shape of a cookie?
Would it have like a weird consistency?
Well,
'Cause-
are you saying you could just take brownie batter and just like put it into cookie form?
Right.
Quick question. What about putting it, would it count if you put it in little cupcake tins? So then you got little brownie and then they pop out. They kind of look like cookies a little bit.
Yeah. I think that would work. I
That's
don't
more
know
of what
how,
a brownie.
Yeah, I
it
wouldn't.
needs sides to hold it up. The batter is too liquidy.
It needs structure.
It's not
That's
like
a good
cookie.
point. The batter is very liquidy.
It's not like
it's
a
not going to
cookie,
stay
you know?
together
You
like
can't
that,
just-
that cookie
It
batter.
needs structure, much like this very normal podcast.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Welcome back to Recipe Hour here on this very normal
Recipe hour.
podcast.
It's a whole hour of just recipes, just reading off recipes.
Today we're going to be cooking the delicious sea bass.
We have an hour and 15-minute podcast,
all
and an
we're-
hour of it is
all
the
we're
recipe
doing-
hour.
All we're doing is like discussing whether the recipes are like worth it or not. Whether you could make brownies in a cookie sheet.
All right, sugar cookie. Everybody ready? Okay, here we go. 3 cups flour. 1 tablespoon baking powder.
Oh, really?
1
powder.
teaspoon salt.
Salt in a sugar cookie?
4 cups of sugar.
Oh, well, that
Wow,
makes
that-
sense.
These are going to be dangerous.
These are sugar cookies.
That's going straight to my thighs.
Tempting.
Yeah, no, I would definitely listen to that show.
For a whole hour.
Yeah.
I want to dig a little more into brownies.
I would listen to myself doing that for an hour.
Could you guys leave so I could just record
Actually, can I have
myself?
some time alone with the recorder, please?
I must have to start singing Carly Simon.
I've just got a few books I want
chase.
to read.
So brownies. I don't know if you guys agree with me here, but they're one of my favorite desserts.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
chewy. They're
I like it
chocolatey.
better
They're
than
great.
cake.
100% delicious.
But I don't think the
I like
egg.
brownies better than cake, too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Me
I
too.
don't think that a gourmet brownie does anything better than a cheap grocery store brownie can do.
Give me Betty Crocker right now.
Because there's a few
Right now.
There's a few like just the little brownie bites from the grocery store. Those are really great.
Yeah.
The cosmic brownies, even in a pinch, will do. The ones with the
Yeah.
sprinkles on them. I mean, they're just the worst.
Yeah, but
they're
like-
the worst thing in the world, but they're kind of good.
They're
in
the
their own
worst things in the
shitty
world.
way.
Yeah, I think they're much different than
they are better
giving
than a dry cake, though.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I think a boxed one that you make at home is
Betty
much
Crocker.
better than the store bought.
That Ghirardelli, that Betty Crocker.
Ooh, Ghirardelli.
Duncan
Have you
Hines.
had those circular ones that are
don't-
the circular
They like break apart.
they're like
They're almost like cake.
they're like tiny muffin brownies.
Yeah,
Those are not good.
I don't like those.
They have to be chewy
Those aren't brownies in my book.
I don't know if chewy is the word I would say.
I think
for a good brownie. You don't think so?
Fluffy.
Fluffy.
No,
Fluffy.
a fluffy brownie.
Wait,
Yes,
hold on.
yeah.
We are on other sides.
Here's
No,
here's
it's like melty fluffy.
really what
Yeah.
the terminology though
What's the
on a
terminology?
box
They
is
gotta
that
be chewy,
it up.
though.
is that one
I'm on
that's not
chewy
so
side.
it's either cakey or dense is how they put it.
Ah,
on a
that's
box.
I like
right.
it. I like it. I guess it's not.
I like it dense.
What did I say? Flaky?
If you have a cakey,
No.
Fuerte?
it's a little more dry. It's a little bit more fluffy, more cake-like. But if it's dense, then it's
want that-
a lot more.
You want that dense
It's a lot
brownie.
softer.
Yeah, I think so.
A little bit more wet.
It's like it's
It's
moist.
like
you get
Wet
that-
is a good.
You get
and
that
with
side or
little,
corner piece with the dense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Barb McCoy would take that just regular brownie, out of the box, probably Betty Crocker.
Yeah.
And what she would do is she'd get peanut butter chips.
Oh my
And
god!
she'd sprinkle it in, or she'd mix it in, and then then pour it
be
into the
still
pan.
my beating
But
heart.
it was like like maybe an inch thick, and it was amazing.
See, so when I mentioned the blonde brownie earlier,
Yeah.
and my mother would the wonderful Marcy Charters would do the same. It would be a similar brownie batter, but with chocolate chip cookie dough, essentially. And you pour that into the pan, and it would just be like it was essentially just removing the chocolate part of that batter,
a sheet
and then
cookie?
putting essentially a sheet cookie.
That would be a sheet cookie.
That was what it would be. And we've
not
come,
to be confused with the cookie sheet.
This is a sheet cookie.
and that was a
This
very
cookie is sheet. This cookie is sheet.
that was a very lovely edition of Recipe Hour.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us.
yeah.
So I'd like to talk about something that happened over the weekend at the wonderful wedding for the Freeze.
I think we'd
The
all
Freeze
like to talk
Garcia
about
wedding.
it.
So before the way the wedding worked was that the rehearsal dinner was on Thursday night and the wedding was Friday afternoon.
Correct.
And
At 4 p.m. on a Friday.
at 4 p.m. on a Friday.
4 p.m. on a
Tough
Friday.
to get to for
Prime
everybody.
prime time for a wedding, by the way.
Yeah.
Prime time.
As we learned.
A lot of people don't know that, but that's the most popular time to get married.
Really?
And then you have the whole
4 o'clock
weekend.
on Friday? Yeah,
We're just gonna believe it?
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not.
You did your research.
So
I
we
think ours was 5:30 on a Friday. So
I mean, not as ideal as 4 o'clock, but it's not bad.
Not as ideal. And I could feel it when we were there. Like, wow, this is a lot more ideal. 4 p.m. way more ideal.
Like just the light was hitting correctly, the people were in good spirits, and then an hour and a half later, people were kind of slumping around.
Right, that's how they started at ours. Everyone's just
break.
like,
It's the best way. Like, I actually really enjoy having a wedding on a Friday because then you get all of Saturday
Oh yeah.
yeah, we realized that
and all of Sunday.
That is
we
true,
were
yeah.
so excited on Saturday
we
morning
were
to be
like,
like,
yes,
it's Saturday.
It's Saturday. We have the whole weekend.
We all jumped out of bed.
We all jumped out of bed being like, I feel like garbage, but I have a whole day to feel like garbage and still another day of weekend. That's right.
That's right.
So between Thursday and Friday, we got a house.
Yeah, we
Marty Freeze got us a house.
Yep.
Thank you, Marty.
And
Marty.
That's nice.
whereabouts was that? I couldn't. It was like Enum Claw.
It was Enum Claw.
Deep Enum Claw.
So in the middle of the kind of in the forest, in a little cabin.
in,
it was
the woods.
It was a lot of fun. But it was about probably an hour from where we had dinner. And so we had to truck out there. And about halfway out, we realized that Peter, who was in our car, had taken his now wife's keys and had to go back. So we turned back around. It took us probably 2 hours to get to the house altogether. But in that time, we had some time to chat.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was just randomly talking about is how I once held this belief until I was about a teenager, that you need to store up your farts in order to be able to poop.
Wait, what is
because
this?
the fart is basically the propellant that pushes the poop out of your butt.
What in the world did you
Hang
just
on.
say?
Hold up, please. I brought this up and I said, yeah, I believe this crazy thing until the time I was like, I don't know, in my teens. Like, this is embarrassing. I was probably like 12 or 13. I fucking figured this shit out. And then Mike chimes in from the driver's seat and he says, wait, that's not how it works?
No, that's not what I said.
He is 26, 25, still thinks that farts are the propellant that get
I
the
did
poop out of
think
your
that. I
butt.
didn't think you had to store them.
This.
Go ahead, Mike. Defend yourself.
I'm just saying. I didn't think you had to store them.
What did you think?
But you thought
I thought that
farts were what pushed
No,
poop.
I thought they would help. I know there's muscles going on, but I thought when you fart, they kind of shove some stuff out. I would argue that there has been a fart that has helped the poop come out of my body at one point or another.
You know, I don't
You
think
know,
that's
Mike-
not being.
Mike,
you know,
I'm
not
not
knowing anything about it. I don't feel like that's too far off. I feel like that makes sense.
I've seen visual evidence of fart helping diarrhea come out.
Yes.
So Mike, I'm not going to defend you, but I will also say that from what Daniel has said about the way that he poops, our producer Daniel Leclerc,
Professional shitter.
professional
Here we
shitter, as how he's discussed his poops, they take 30 seconds and it's all gas rocketing out of his asshole, and that's how he describes it. And I'm
sure
like,
that's-
from in this family that Andrew grew up in, I'm not surprised that he thought that.
Well, those are like the three states of matter, right? You have like liquid, solid, and gas.
Absolutely.
That's actually four.
And most of us have either liquid or solid, but Daniel just has gas
and plasma.
and plasma.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But I mean, isn't poop?
that's after Taco Bell.
It just goes to show. It just goes to show that
That's when it burns a little bit.
Daniel's lower intestine just really breaks it down, like really breaks it down until it turns into gas, because that's how it works, right?
I just had a thought.
It just turns this
Isn't
poop into gas.
isn't poop then the three states of matter in itself? It's liquid, it's solid, and it's gas.
All right, Jim must have just gone to the bathroom for a second and came back to the conversation. That's what I just said.
No, you're right.
It's so interesting though that you say that because it makes me think that poop might be all three states of
Wait,
matter
really?
as well.
Okay.
Because it's a liquid, a solid, and a gas.
Wow. What about plasma?
It is, I mean, after Taco Bell.
Kevin, you little tyke. But the whole wedding was a really great time.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Congratulations to our podworm Peter. He'll be back. He'll be back real soon. And if we remember that famous moment on one of our first episodes, like, hey, Peter, heard you're engaged. Want to tell us about that? No.
Silence.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cool. And now he's married, so maybe he'll talk about it.
Well, we figured it out. He got married. Yeah?
We figured it out.
Case
Figured it out.
closed.
Case closed.
He got married. It's done. It is finished.
We have a fun game called 10-Minute Movie coming up real soon. Before we get to that, I want to talk about an experience I had just recently that's very much in the vein of many of my stories on this podcast.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know if it's necessarily a shame story or just an Andrew awkward story. You can tag it however you'd like, but this is what happened. It was a weekend night, not this most recent weekend of the wedding, but the weekend prior. I was going to play the new Spider-Man game because people are really
Spider-Man?
raving about it.
Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man game. And so
Spider-Man.
It makes it sound like a last name.
Is that Louis Spiderman over there?
So I got it from the local Red Box, which still exists, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew
Oh
this.
yeah.
Got it from the local Red Box, and then I was going to go to the weed shop to get some marijuana to enjoy.
While you're playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's my kind of night.
And so I went to the.
It's a good time.
I went to the store that's right down the street
That's
from the house.
literally every night for me. Okay, anyway, sorry.
And I went to the guy and I was like, "Hey, what kind of edibles you got right now?" And he's like, "Oh, we got these on sale. It's 2 for $3." I was like, "Whoa, great sale
for $3."
And here's where I made the mistake. I made the mistake of chatting him up, and I believe the way I actually phrased it, I said, "Yeah, so what kind of edibles you got on sale right now?" He said, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I said, "I was just gonna play some video games at home." He's like, "Oh, you want these right here?" And then he's kind of checking me out, and he says, "Oh yeah, what game are you playing?" I was like, "Oh, Spider-Man." And he starts getting into all the Spider-Man details with me about, his experience.
Sounds like a good bud tender, this guy.
Telling me to avoid the bridges and he got stuck on a bridge or something. I'm like, okay, I just want the goddamn weed so I can get out of here. But so I hand him a 5 and he takes the 5 and we're sitting there chatting and I could tell he's distracted. He's distracted and he has the register open and I see it process while he takes a break from talking and he has it in the register and I can see the cogs in his head turning where he's thinking, okay, there's something I have to do here in this transaction. He gives me money. What do I do next? And so he just puts it in the register and then closes it. And then we both kind of look at each other for a half beat because I think he was also thinking in his head, did I owe him change? I think I did, but I'm too committed now, so I can't do it. So we both looked at each other for a split second where I'm 100% sure we had this connection where it's like, you owe me money. I owe you money. We're not going to address this, are we? Nope. And then I was like, all right, man, have a good night. So I just walked out.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Why did you didn't say anything?
I didn't say
That's
anything.
incredible.
It was $2.
It was $2. It was $2, but
walked out?
Yeah, it wasn't much of a sale.
Did you
after
at least get the weed?
that. He gave me the weed.
Okay,
but,
good.
I just felt like he was being too friendly.
it doesn't mean he gets to steal from you.
You got ripped off.
How many edibles did you get for $3?
2.
But what sort of dose are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
5.
Yeah,
Probably
how
5
many
milligrams.
10.
10
milligrams?
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
what kind of steal?
Where's your
I
weed
want to buy
job,
some.
huh?
Why didn't you buy 50 of those?
Giving you
I'll
money.
take the lot.
Yeah, I'll take the lot.
I just didn't need that much.
So Andrew,
Oh, you're cool.
I also
then.
have an awkward gym story,
Jeez.
and this one surprised me because this sort of thing doesn't happen to me a lot. I mean, it happens, but
going to the gym.
You fat fuck. Gym at the gym.
my new
Just the
segment I like to
smallest
call
one
Gym
out of
at
all
the
of us.
No, so,
Anyway.
so around the same time as Andrew was buying edibles.
You don't know that for sure.
No, this is no.
Oh, okay.
How do you know? Wait, really?
We'll find
No,
out.
it was before.
Do you guys remember what you were doing when Andrew was buying edibles 2 weekends ago?
Yeah, I was talking to this bud tender about how he just stole $2 from somebody. He's like, works every time.
So 2 weeks ago, this is actually prior to when Andrew bought his edibles.
Oh, okay.
This is the Thursday before that.
Got it.
Kayla and I went to Kayla and I went to the
Everything is relative to the bud tenders. Was this pre or post meat getting ripped off?
Free.
Okay, got it.
So Kayla and I both went to the Can because we bought tickets to they had a Matahari cabaret show we wanted to go see.
Okay.
And the Can's at Pike Place Market, if you didn't know. And it's a tiny, tiny place. It's got it has a single bar, and then you walk through some doors, and then there's a room that's about as big as this apartment, Chase, that has a single aisle down the middle, and people sit on either side of it, and you can drink and eat. And so we're sitting there drinking, we're eating, we're having a good time. We're getting pumped for the show to start, and then so the show begins, and everybody comes out. Right, I'm sitting next to the aisle, the aisle's right here. It's on my left. I'm sitting right next to it. Everybody comes out down the aisle, and a few of the dancers, scantily clad dancers, come out, and then this dude who's super muscly comes out and offers his arm to me, like his bicep, and the music's really loud.
Right.
And he what I thought he said was punch it. But instead, what he actually said was touch it. Like he was wanting me to grab his bicep. I was like, all right. So instead I hit him like lightly 3 times on the bicep, and then he's just like took it and like kept continuing the show. And so
I was like, what?
That was weird.
What kinky shit was that?
So then the rest of the show, I'm like sitting there completely mortified that I've done this. And in the end,
Punch it.
in the end, he
Punch my arm.
yeah. And I was like, all right, well, we'll go with it.
No.
In the end, like they came out after the show and everybody was giving them tips, and I like apologized profusely. He's like, no, don't worry about it. No, it really helped me get in the beginning of the show. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, he's a class
He
act.
loves a guy's punch his arm.
He's like, I'm going to change the way I do it now.
Punch it.
It's like awkwardness combined with I couldn't hear anything.
It's brilliant. That's so good.
All right. Well, let's get into our favorite bit, a fan favorite bit, 10-minute movie. But before we do that, we have a quick word from a friend of the pod, podcast called American Slacker. Check them out. Good friends of the pod. Great podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see you on the other side
They're awesome.
of this spot.
Hey, Slackers. I'm Matt.
And I'm Jesse.
We host American Slacker, the show that keeps you updated on all of the weirdest news around the globe, along with what's going on in the world of Xbox, music and movie suggestions, and fun interactive games.
Every other week, we bring on interesting guests from all walks of life, from filmmakers to musicians, funeral directors to small business owners, and even Jeff Goldblum.
What? No, we never got Goldblum, man.
Oh, a man can dream, can't he?
American Slacker Podcast. New episodes every Wednesday.
Available on Spotify, iTunes, and all of your smart devices, or anywhere else, you might happen to cop a podcast.
They're downloading MP3s, not buying an eighth. I'm shutting this shit down. That's it.
There you go.
Hey, and welcome back. We got 10-minute movie here. So what I decided to do was, well, first of all, it's not 5-minute movie anymore. I mean, here on the Podworm Spacecast, we're open to changing things up. We're
progressive.
Just to let you behind the curtain here, what we'll do is after every episode, we get the gang together, we listen back to the tape. So we're usually here until probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning.
Right.
And we make liner notes, like here's something I would change. We all have to give a majority vote of whether or not we think it's worthy of a change. And if it doesn't pass, then, that's how it kind of goes. So it's very diplomatic, line by line.
Honestly, it's just like a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to fill out a lot of podcast forms.
Andrew
Yeah.
doesn't let us just give our suggestions while we're listening back. We have to fill out a form, like a form. That he
And then
has.
and then
A form
one
to
of
allow
us-
you to fill out a form.
Yeah,
There's
and then,
2 different forms.
absolutely.
One of us has to take those forms to the mailbox to get sent to the podcast home office.
Yeah, you can't just, even though he's there, you can't just give it to them.
It turns into a whole day thing
Yeah.
because before we even start recording, we actually meet at the community center and we rent out a room and we do a whole script read throughout the entire
Man.
podcast. It's just like,
Yeah, it's a lot.
To create this content for you every week, it takes a lot of work.
It's a lot.
Well, and I'd like to point out that Andrew is late every time to this script read.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have an explanation for that.
Okay.
I have a very important skin appointment. Where I have to go. They take a look at these weird skin tags that I have, and I think that they're fine. But
Skin tags?
yeah, little
The things that stick out.
little like
skin tags?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that they're okay.
It just kind of marks how much his body's worth.
Right. And right now it's at a pretty.
It says do not wash.
It's a pretty clearly. Yeah. It says do not remove by punishable by law.
Those are not for the consumer, by the way.
That one got removed. But yeah, we kind of do this whole thing about how can we make the podcast better for the space fans. And one thing that we all came to the conclusion of is that let's spice up the 5-minute movie. Let's first give it double the space. It deserves it.
Right.
Secondly, let's add some fun elements because right now it's just not fun enough.
It's not that fun,
And
right?
that's-
No, I had no fun the last time we did it.
I'm not looking forward to next year's Star Wars pod.
Me neither.
After the harsh notes we took on the last one.
Actually, no, I'm really excited for that. Like all I can think about, like every time you're like, do you have ideas for the pod? I'm like, oh, I just want to do another Star Wars.
Star Wars.
You mean the pod that we're doing in May?
Yeah, for May the 4th. Just like the fans asked.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We have some random generators thrown into the mix. So we're gonna have
very nice.
We're gonna create
technology.
some random leads for our movie. We're gonna have a random title for the movie, and also a random genre. Based on this criteria, we're gonna have to build a movie in 10 minutes from beginning to end. And what do you say we go ahead and start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should you choose to accept it?
So here we go. So first off, let's generate an actor.
Okay.
So we'll spin the wheel here, and we got Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, Morgan Freeman,
Andy
and
Dufresne.
and let's so he'll be the lead, and then he has to have
Co-star.
a co-star.
Who is?
The co-star is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Great.
Wow.
Okay,
This is already an Oscar winner.
Yeah, Daniel.
Shawshank Redemption 2? I don't know why they had to replace. Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis is now in it.
There's a question mark at the end of the title.
That's my favorite. So have you ever seen The Last Man on Earth? Like they have this Shawshank Redemption thing, and every time Will Forte's trying to reference it, he goes, "It surely was a Shawshank Redemption."
Oh man. Okay.
All right,
That's
and
great.
and the villain of this movie is going to be Tom Cruise.
Of course.
Well, that makes sense.
Long hair or short hair?
Yeah, long hair. Tom Cruise is short. I say long hair.
I say long hair.
Well,
too.
Long hair is
Don't you want to wait for the movie genre and title before you decide that?
yeah,
okay.
but long hair.
long hair. Long hair, definitely long hair. Morgan Freeman.
I'm sorry.
Short hair.
Short hair, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I
No hair.
Whoa.
No hair.
Daniel
Wow.
Day. Bald Daniel Day.
Daniel Day-Lewis. There will be blood version. Okay, sorry. Keep going.
All right.
Only a
The movie is
mustache.
called There Will Be Blood. Go.
So just to recap, we have Morgan Freeman as the lead.
Yep.
Is it Daniel Day-Lewis as his co-star?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then Tom Cruise is the villain.
Long hair Tom Cruise.
Not a lot of female representation.
Also, we
in
just
this
lost
movie.
our Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Hanks. In it. Sorry.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Hanks is it?
Oh, it's not.
Tom Hanks would have given us 2 Oscars.
Yeah.
Excuse
Everyone
me.
loves him.
All right, so here's our genre.
America's sweetheart.
I'm spinning an actual wheel here, and the movie genre is going to be foreign.
Foreign.
That's tough.
Everybody else is foreign except
Let's spin that one again. Let's spin that again.
Foreign.
I'm not going there. Romance.
Romance.
Okay.
Perfect between
this is
so
great.
it's still Shawshank Redemption 2.
I can't wait.
It surely was a
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, so it's, we got
Andy
Morgan,
Dufresne.
we got Daniel, we got Tommy, and we got romance.
Yeah, and so
we got romance.
I mean, we already had romance, but now
Tommy
it's our genre
Cruise.
too.
and now we're going to create a few titles. It's going to give us 6 titles, and we can determine which of the 6 we would like to use for this purpose. All right, here we go. All right, number 1, we have First Something. 2,
Don't read any more. That was perfect. Number 1 is first something. Number 2, second something.
Okay, listen. if you think
What kind of generator is it?
if you think that's good, there's more to come.
I could have done better than that.
Okay, title number 2.
something.
Title 2, The Bold Future. Title 3, Ring of Tears. Title 4, The Captive's Waves. Title 5.
I kind of like the Captain's Way. So I have some really good ideas.
I like that.
That's really good ideas already.
I suspect this is
Stockholm
just
love story. Romance.
Yes.
The Captive's Waves.
Sort of, but not really.
I think Chase and I are
I
on
have
the
a
same
really
level
good
right
idea
now.
for that
okay.
one. All right?
Let's get through the rest here. They're only getting better. Title 5. These are so good. Title 5, The Person of the Gift.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Of the gift.
Next up on the Hallmark Channel, the person of the gift.
Right after that, First Something.
And number 6.
He almost puked right out of the mic.
He almost puked. It was such a good
I think I don't even need to hear it. I think number 6 is what we're going with.
Number 6 is.
Number 6, Person in the Words.
Oh no! I got ideas for that one for sure.
All right, let me recap the choice we have here.
Okay.
Could you recap them, please?
Okay, first something, the bold
I've gotta go with the person in the
future,
words.
I gotta go with two.
ring of tears, the captive's waves, the person of the gift, person in the words.
The person in the words.
Choices.
Are we leaning anywhere just based on a gut feeling?
Okay,
here?
I've got two great ideas.
I've got one really good one.
Let me remind you guys, this is a comedy, or this is a romance.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
no,
it
no
is.
problem.
But we don't have an actress. It's a romance. And all we know is that
Why
we have
would
Morgan.
you need that?
Goddamn right.
One of mine has a. One of mine has a.
It's 2018.
Mike. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so are we leaning somewhere? You guys have an inclination of where to go?
Can we do like pitches?
Just can I do two really
You know what?
quick pitches?
Let's do this. Let's do the pitch version of 10-minute movie because this is giving us a lot to work with. I want to hear the pitch of how you guys are envisioning this movie with this setup.
Can we all pitch?
Yeah.
we're all gonna
So I
pitch.
want everybody to pitch. You have to use one of the titles. It has to be a romance with those people involved.
Can I do? Okay, I'll just do one if I have to do only choose.
Okay,
do I have to choose
I've
one?
got-
No,
I've got
no.
one also.
If you got two, go two.
All right.
One
That's
of them
I
isn't quite as
just
fleshed
hope
out.
one of yours doesn't take mine.
Do the
But
do
go-
the
go
less
for it.
fleshed out one now. Then
Yeah, I'm gonna do the less fleshed one out.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is what is it? The Captive's Waves.
The Captive's Waves.
The Captive's Waves. Okay, so this one is about Morgan Freeman and Daniel Day-Lewis, who are friends.
Right.
You know, they're on a boat in Somalia. And
foreign.
Right.
and there's pirates take over their boat, right?
Right.
And
This reminds me of a Tom Hanks movie.
just he'll show up later. Okay, so they become captive and they get taken prisoner in their own boat. And basically, they get stuck in this cell where they have to hang out together,
Right.
while their captive is doing whatever he's doing, and then love blossoms from
course.
being trapped in a jail cell in their own boat. And that's kind of it. Actually, that's all I had for the first one.
Wait. That's fine. But can I hear how Tom Hanks does come in later?
Oh, he's the pirate.
Tom Cruise or Tom Hanks?
Tom Cruise is the pirate.
Tom Cruise, right?
Sorry.
Well, I mean, but
it's a little twist. It's Tom Cruise who went over there, and he is now the captain of all the Somalia pirates because they all because he has a bunch of money. He's like a really rich
okay.
thief guy, and so he went over there to start his own pirate crew that's
Sure.
like run a little bit better because
Okay.
he thinks he can do a better job being a pirate.
All right.
He's like a Bond villain.
So that's the Captive's Waves. Okay, Mike.
Okay. So this is the person in the words.
The person in the words. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the person in the words. It's a period piece, like I don't know, some one of the world wars, First World War.
Yep.
Daniel Day-Lewis and his wife. He has to go to war. He gets shipped out. He's a little old, but he's got to go.
okay.
And he gets shipped out. He goes to war, and through some battle, he gets basically taken prisoner. So he's now a prisoner of war, and they're letting him write letters. I'm realizing this is the one flaw. They're letting him write letters.
Okay.
But just
work
follow
with it.
me.
Work with it. Yeah.
Okay, so basically the only way that he can, it's a very cordial war. They're allowed to send mail back and forth. No, but hear me out.
Yeah.
So he's sending letters back to his wife.
He doesn't know where he is. Like they blindfolded him, so what doesn't matter.
Yeah,
He's not going to be able to tell him anything.
And there's a terrible warden who is Tom Cruise.
Except for that he's captive.
He's captive. No, terrible guy that's holding him captive.
No! One
Tom
of the guys he befriends that is watching his jail cell, and he sends his letters for him.
Okay, so that's Tom Cruise. He's not a bad guy.
I'm really terrible.
Okay. Skip all that.
I'm sorry.
Skip all that. The main idea that I had was good is that he's writing letters to his wife, but then his neighbor Morgan Freeman, is kind of involved and keeps up on the wife, but the wife gets deathly ill and actually passes away, and Morgan Freeman sees all these letters, and he doesn't have the heart to tell Daniel Day-Lewis
He's gonna write back.
that she's dead, so he writes back as his wife. and becomes the person in the words.
Okay.
And they fall madly farther in love, and then he finally comes back and realizes it was Morgan Freeman the whole time.
Oh my
They fall
God.
in love, and they're like, it doesn't
wow.
matter anyway.
Wow.
Wait. It doesn't matter anyway.
This is really
The
good.
wife was not really part of the picture.
Yeah, forget about her.
Holy shit. That's very good.
Okay, I like that.
I love it.
Okay.
I love that.
There's a
Kevin.
couple flaws, but we
No. I like it. I like it.
I don't think this is going to be as good as either of those.
That's all right.
Basically, it starts off with Daniel Day-Lewis,
Well, what's the title first?
The Captive's Waves,
Okay.
Okay.
because it's the only one I could remember. And I could have gone with first something.
A lot of ideas there.
I'll do a second pitch for that one.
You could be the Captain's Waves first something.
Yeah, it's The Captain's Waves first something. That's what
Okay.
this is. It is Daniel Day-Lewis is a rich Frenchman right before the French uprising.
Okay.
Sure.
And he gets taken and thrown in jail in a black stone jail cell that's just like there's only one tiny little grate that lets in a small amount of light, and he's there alone for a couple days until one day he farts in his cell.
All right.
Right.
And what happens is because of the fart, it travels through the pipes and into the cell next to his, which is where. I forgot to tell you, the jailer is Tom Cruise, long hair,
sure.
Long hair.
He
Okay.
throws him in there.
Yeah,
So, like he
okay.
abuses him, tortures him, and like yells at him, doesn't feed him. Anyways, so he farts, and this whiny fart sings like a melody through the tubes into the cell next to him where Morgan Freeman is held.
Right.
Yeah.
And he hears it and is like, oh my gosh, there's somebody out there I can communicate with. And so he farts back. And over this time that they spend in this jail cell, they start farting back and forth and end up falling in love.
Right.
As you do.
As you do. Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's directly The Captive's Waves right there.
Oh,
That sounds like a whitest kids you know skit or something.
All right. I like that.
I like it.
And it's really a tragic story because it finally what happens is the day comes where Morgan Freeman is going to be hung or the guillotine.
Hanged.
Guillotine.
Yeah.
We're talking French Revolution.
Okay, sure.
And that's the day that Daniel Day-Lewis is able to break free and switch jail cells with him, and Daniel Day-Lewis ends up getting executed in Morgan Freeman's place.
Whoa. That's deep stuff.
And Morgan Freeman escapes and watches it from the crowd with tears. And then,
Of course.
right,
I know the
right
final
before
shot.
the credits go, you just hear a little whining.
I love it. I love it.
Can I pitch a final shot to that?
Yes, please.
Is that Daniel Day-Lewis, his head is in the guillotine, and he looks and he sees Morgan Freeman, and he lifts his arm. And he gives him a gentle wave, and the captives wave.
Yeah.
Oh, my
wow.
God.
I'm glad you said that, Mike, because that segues nicely into what I was thinking. I also had the Captive's Wave. And mine's very similar to Jace's in that. So Daniel Day-Lewis is the captain of a British sailing ship.
Yes.
And it's during pirate times.
Yes.
and Morgan
times.
Freeman
Love
Morgan Freeman is his first mate, and their ship is boarded by pirates. Tom Cruise,
Yes.
the captain of the pirates, with long hair. And
Of course he has long
hair. He's a pirate, very flamboyantly dressed.
Yep.
And most of the crew is killed, and when they blow up their ship, except for Daniel Day-Lewis and Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
And the two of them are taken captive by Tom Cruise. And
Yes.
he treats them incredibly poorly. And so the rest of the movie is spent with them living very closely in a cell, just like
Yes.
very closely in a cell, and devising a way to escape.
It's a
And
winner.
they're devising a plan. And eventually they pull off their plan, and they're able to take one of the rowboats, and they're able to get away from the ship, but then they don't know where they are, and they're trapped in the middle of the ocean.
Didn't think about that, did they?
And they didn't bring many supplies with them,
Yep.
but a bond between them has grown by this point in the film.
Of course,
And they're in love with one another. And neither of them wants to see the other one, die
yes.
of starvation and thirst.
Who would?
So, to save supplies, Daniel Day-Lewis, in the middle of in like the early dawn hours, jumps out of the boat and swims away to save Morgan Freeman in the end. And in the end, he gives him a gentle wave. Over the waves as Morgan Freeman gets up out of the boat and sees him slowly go away.
Perfect.
Okay.
Don't even need to say the title on that one.
Nope.
You don't need to look at the camera and go, the captive's wave. It's just right there. It's the wave.
All right. So
Roll
mine's
credits.
mine's a little bit of a different vein. So I'm going to do first something. And basically it starts out, so this is maybe like 1960s, early 1960s, 70s. But it's basically a child actors playing young Freeman and Lewis as classmates.
Okay.
And Freeman's character is very kind of flamboyant, and this isn't accepted at this period in time. He's getting bullied by all the people in school, but he doesn't let it get to him. He's a little bit different, but that's okay. And Daniel Day-Lewis's character kind of observes him getting picked on. He doesn't really like this kind of stuff, so he goes up and tries to befriend him. And so Morgan Freeman's character is sitting at his desk at school, kind of minding his own business, and Lewis notices that on the paper he's written just first something up the very top, and he asks him, what does this mean? And he has this kind of philosophical explanation that it's like, well, everything has to start with something, and you ought to just take a step, try it first. There's something.
Yeah,
okay,
100%.
and this
I could already hear the soundtrack in this one. It's really good.
first something. And so this kind of ends up being like the start of their friendship. And this is this kind of mantra that Morgan Freeman's character holds on to kind of keep him going through all these hard times. And so, flash the present. It's pre-Obama era. All right.
Right.
So there's been big strides made with, social, all the social awareness and kind of, gay people having rights and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's kind of getting there, but they're not quite there yet. But they're old people now. Morgan Freeman and Daniel Day-Lewis they're both getting old. And they're really struggling. And so Tom Cruise is a politician who, because they're in like Utah. This is all set in Utah. He's some sort of
Of course.
You didn't need to tell us. We already
of course
totally
it's in
picked
Utah.
that up. We already knew.
he's a politician that's doing whatever he can to like pass all this anti-gay legislation and whatnot.
Right.
But basically, long story short, Obama comes. He's fucking curb stomps everything. He's like, no, this is cool. Social justice for everybody.
Wow.
And he's like, he's a pretty big part of the movie. He's played by
Surprise appearance. Oh no, he's not in it. It's not actually Obama in the movie.
No. I mean, it's,
Just check who plays him. I want to know.
Chase is like really hoping that Obama's in the movie.
my bad.
actually, I think the character of Obama, you never actually see his head. It's always like shot from the back, or
Morgan Freeman
or his
also
neck is
plays
cut off.
Obama. They didn't have enough money for actors.
The first romance film where somebody plays two characters.
But there's like a big substantial, because obviously I don't have to tell you guys this, but these guys were started as friends, but now they're lovers later in life.
Right.
And there's this big bill that's going to be passed to kind of let them finally get married. And Daniel Day-Lewis is very sick, and he ends up passing right as his bill. The climax of the movie is that the bill passes, and they're burying Daniel Day-Lewis the following day, and on his tombstone it just reads "First something." It's really a tearjerker.
It's beautiful.
Well, and they're watching the bill being signed on TV.
and then he passes away.
He dies
in the bed.
while
he's
it's
sitting
dying.
next
He's
to him.
smiling.
That's what I'm
because
thinking.
he knows that it's going to happen.
Oh,
right?
it's a camera pan. It's it's from the TV
Yep.
over to
100%.
Morgan Freeman holding his hand, and he's eyes on the TV, and then he looks over, and Daniel Day-Lewis has already passed.
Oh wow, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then,
That is
it
very
kind of
powerful.
cuts to them burying him. And
Yeah, and then for something.
Yeah.
And then first something.
Well, who would have guessed that from these titles we would have had such a dark
Wait,
interpretation?
I got one more.
Okay.
Chase has a second
I
one
have a
that's
second
more
one.
fleshed out,
I
and
wanna
then I
hear.
have a really, really short one.
All right.
I'll go really quick too.
All right, let's hear it.
Because it's fleshed out, but not quite as much. Okay, so Morgan Freeman is he's an author and he's gay, right? So he writes very controversial, novels. Some people love them. Very famous, very successful author.
Right.
But the movie is not set when he's successful. The movie is set when he has problems with his brain. He has like Alzheimer's or something where he loses his memory. He forgets things really easily. And so he's taken care of by Tom Cruise, which is his keeper, his like person there, in his big mansion, right? Because he's old and he writes books. And so basically the movie takes place after he's gone to his prime, but he doesn't know that because he's lost his memory and all that stuff. So he's reading books that he wrote himself about. Oh, this is what was the title again?
Person in the Words.
Person in the Words. He's reading books.
I knew the title, man.
He's reading books that he wrote himself, but he doesn't realize that he wrote these books. And he starts to fall in love with this specific character played by Daniel Day-Lewis, who appears to him sometimes
While he's reading the
while
book.
he's reading the book
Okay.
in his mansion. He thinks he's a real person oftentimes. And, basically he goes on this whole, book. He goes through this book reading this great love story. This was his number one seller, obviously.
Of course.
Right,
back in the day.
Yeah,
and so he falls in love with this character who he thinks is real. And then, later on in the movie, basically he starts to realize that he's not in love with like a real person, and his keeper Tom Cruise is trying to make him realize that. And so it's kind of like Shutter Island, where basically Tom Cruise, it turns out that he's actually in like some sort of asylum. It's just like in a big
Oh, no.
I just want there to be that meta moment where a character in the movie, like the movie kind of concludes with another character in the movie writing the story of this whole thing unfolding, and it's called The Person in the Words.
Oh, yeah. The last shot is the book.
Oh, my
closed.
God.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Another crazy twist is maybe Daniel Day-Lewis actually did exist, and he was written after a real person. And more information.
He walks into the room.
No,
So
the
it's
book
like
closes, and the person who's writing that story is Daniel Day-Lewis.
It's like first you think he's real,
Person in the Words.
but then you realize, he's not real. But then you are like, wait, he is real. Like afterwards, it's really
It's the other guy who's not real.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Fucking no one's real.
No one's real in this movie.
All right.
So that's my mindfuck movie romance.
I like that. Okay.
Very early 2000s.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And Kevin?
This is just I'm totally breaking the genre here, but basically, it's Daniel Day-Lewis and Morgan Freeman are a newly married couple. They both donate sperm to have like a kid made, but then there's a mix-up. And they get back when the baby's born, it comes out with the face of Tom Cruise on like a little troll body. It's like green. So it's like a green body with Tom Cruise's face.
It's a rom-com.
And they're like,
a rom-com.
they ask the doctor, what is it? And he goes, it's something. And then it's like the first something.
I love that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, those
Like a rom-com set in the future where like there's some aliens out there, and somehow the sperm got mixed
Cruise
up
is an
with some
alien.
alien sperm.
Well,
Okay,
space fans, if you have your own movie pitches, let me give you a few titles you might consider. Whispering Twins. The Darkest Sex. Game of Shores.
Okay.
The Shards Petals.
The Shards Petals.
The Flowers of the Girlfriend. Dreams in the Woman.
Dreams in the woman.
Dreams in the Woman.
All right, let me give you a few more just so you have some options. Shadowy Sliver. The Playful Secrets.
That's good.
Silk of Door.
That's the one.
Nope, that's the name of my new band. Silk of Door.
The Birches Slaves. The Dream of the Ring, or Voyages in the Names.
Wow.
I love these ones that are like one word off of like real things.
Yeah.
Game of Shores.
Shores.
Dream of Thrones.
Game of Shores.
Dream in the Woman. Or what?
Dreams in the Woman.
Dreams in the woman.
So I'd love to hear your fan movies here. Send them off to our email address, pwspacecast@gmail.com.
Yep.
Shoot it off to our Facebook page, Podworm Spacecast, Instagram, Podworm Spacecast. We post funny memes, teasers, behind the scenes action you won't see anywhere else. If you're a true space fan, you're there, you're liking, you're sharing, and most of all, you're gonna keep squirming.
Everybody sniff.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Donald
China.
Trump.
All right.
China. Big. Very big.
Donald
China.
Trump.
Billions.
China.
Billions.
Billions.